Hey everyone, welcome back to the Widowed Parent Podcast Live. I'm here this afternoon with Tina Barrett from Tamarack Grief Resource Center. Tina, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jenny. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. It was great to have you on. It was, over a year ago, I guess, for a nice, long, full discussion about all the work you guys are doing and about outdoor programming and grief and all that. And so I encourage people to listen to that because it's really a terrific discussion.
Yeah, back when we used to do programs in person, so much
Yes.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
it'll
point,
be
good
fun to
point.
talk about updates.
Yeah. Well, and so I want to hear all about your programs, and we probably should talk about like what you do in normal times, because eventually we'll presumably get back to normal times, and then also what you guys have going on right now too. So first, where are you guys located?
We're based out of Missoula. So I'm in the Missoula office today looking out the window at the snow all over. We have offices in Kalispell and Browning, and we have a couple little vehicles that travel around the state. And right now, so much of it's virtual. So we're based out of these spots, but trying to reach out, Jenny, just to make programs accessible to as many people as possible during these times.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, well, so tell us, so what kind of programs then? Let's talk about normal times first, before back when things were normal. What kind of programs do you offer at Tamarack?
Grief support and education would be the easiest way to break it down. So we have a counseling department that has a handful of clinicians that can customize support for kids and teens and adults. Our grief support programs are peer-based support. So open, regardless of ability to pay, kids support groups, adult support groups, a lot of community workshops of just how do we come together with ideas for coping with the holidays or being a parent supporting a grieving child or ideas for what we want to do with our wills and just talking about end of life and grief and hope and healing and who we are in this thing called life. But we're probably most known for grief camps, camps for kids, for women, for families, for guys, for teenagers, leadership camps, and now we even have camps for professionals focused on wellness strategies and compassion resiliency. So that kind of blends into the other category of what we do is grief education of how do we expand this network of care. There's so many people that want to be a part of a healing community, to create healing spaces for one another, to more effectively support one another amidst end of life and grief and after trauma and as we recreate ourselves. And so we do a lot of grief education as well.
Great. Wow. Okay, you guys have a lot of great things going on. So let's just talk a little bit about. So first, you said groups for different ages. So like, are they peer support groups? Did you say, or what kind of
The
groups are
peer
they?
support groups. So, for instance, right now, some that would be going on, the adult support groups go back and forth between a Grief Matters group and then grief after suicide and traumatic loss. So, groups run for about 6 weeks, and those are our adult groups. And one Grief Matters will roll, and then grief after suicide and traumatic loss will roll. Right now, we have a 3 week family group series that the whole family comes to group, and it's a rhythms based group. So
Hmm.
lots of drumming circles and making mobiles of honor and remembrance while listening to rhythms and connecting through sound. And then there'll be a drum making workshop for a takeaway towards the end that we talk about
Oh, fun.
how these days we've moved through the world will keep carrying with us.
Yeah.
Uh, Kids groups, many of them are what we call mini camps. So it's a longer single time group, so a 3 or 3.5 hour group that will blend, like let's come together and get to know one another and be around understanding others and create a safe spot, and let's build some coping skills and read some stories and go on adventures and exploration and create rocks and stupas or shrines of honor and remembrance, or send messages on leaves down the river or different things, and eat snacks together. So the mix of fun and joy and connection with opportunities to honor and remember, and some takeaway tools that the kids will come away with as well.
Mm.
So those are some of the different group models. Our teens have some teen groups that are just focused on peer-based support, and then some that are leadership experiences, teens that have been a part of the program for years and years that come back to be a part of teen council,
Mm.
and that focus on how do we continue to support you? Who are you now? How do you continue to carry this with you? How does this change who you are or who you want to be? And what kind of leadership skills do you want to develop? And so gaining confidence in different areas, and many of them then volunteer with the
Hmm.
kids programs as well.
Nice. Oh, that sounds great. So what ages of participants and what type are there types of loss that are eligible? Relationship to the person lost?
Oh, those are great questions, Jenny. So we're a little bit unique and deliberately so named Tamarack Grief Resource Center. It's not just a bereavement center. Historically, I had been a part of Seasons bereavement programs, and we intentionally expanded this to include all types of loss. That being said, our camps are bereavement camps. They're specifically for kids or adults or families or women who've experienced the death of a family member or a significant person to them. We're not going to just define what family is for somebody else. They'll know who that loss is that impacts them on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And so those bereavement programs are different than some of the grief programs that will also do a lot of work in schools and different places just on how grief is part of the human experience. There's all kinds of different things we grieve, and how do we gain skills to cope, to self-regulate, to keep being the person we want to be in this thing called life. So there's different programs that are different. Many of the support groups are indeed bereavement groups
Hmm.
related to the death of a family member or loved one.
Hmm. Okay, terrific. And what is the age of kids?
Kids, there's different programs for different ages. Most of them are either between 6 and 12 or teen groups,
Hmm.
young adult groups, or adult groups that truly we've had 18 through 80s in our adult groups. And
Yeah,
so those are all different ages.
right. Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you. And then
I
your
would the way
camps.
we
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
I would the way we most support younger kiddos or preschoolers is through supporting the parent. We do a lot of
Mm,
parent consultation on how do we help you talk with kids about loss, interact about the grief in your family, honor your own grief as you take care of these kiddos, but we're not doing groups with the littles.
right, right. Okay, great. Well, so that's a terrific resource for their parents then to reach out to you guys and get involved in those parent education things.
And
Yeah,
meet other parents to learn from. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, great. And then your camps, are those in the summer or when do those take place?
So during the pandemic,
Ah,
it is now our camps are summer based just because they're so tiny
mm,
and social distancing. Historically, and who we are as a program, they happen year round. So last January, we had a beautiful winter teen camp up Butler Creek and did snowshoeing and a spiral in the snow that we lit candles and walked the spiral in honor and remembrance. And uh, the symbolism around the spiral that we can talk through. That's interesting as well. But yep, the camps happen all year round. More
okay,
of them are in the summer,
right,
typical summer camp
right,
with the opportunities to honor and remember. Women's camp is often late spring, like May. Family camp is often in the autumn, but
right.
they happen year round.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, great. And so then during the pandemic, I'm assuming you've had to make a few changes. Do you have some virtual or distance-based stuff going on, or how is that being handled right now?
So this is where I just want to do the biggest shout out to my programs team because they just went to work and said, yes, we're going to do this and we're going to do even more of it. And it's all very different. But nearly every day, they've got something happening virtually. And some of it is a mindful moment. It's 15 minutes of for adults with just self-regulation or guided imagery or guided meditation, focusing on helping someone feel strength and centeredness and comfort amidst grief. Kids Corner is maybe a half an hour, and there's someone that will read a story and offer an activity that's very accessible for kids to tune in but not have to maintain attention for a long time. There's also gentle movement or trauma informed yoga and gentle movement activities for
Mm,
kids and adults at different times, and a lot of the support groups, community workshops, those supporting our kids, supporting ourselves workshops that'll happen next week online, as well as will the support groups for
hmm.
kids and adults.
Great. Okay, so somebody, if they're listening to this and we're still in the pandemic, they can definitely reach out to you guys because it sounds like you have lots of things going on. You haven't stopped with the challenges of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's just made it more interesting. Like, how do we get creative and keep finding each other? And I, Jenny, one of the interesting things is how do we find ways to be together and connect that doesn't get all focused on words? Because when we're meeting virtually, there can be a lot of focus on how do we find words around our experience. So making sure we continue to find those ways of coming together, but and sharing the connection that I can see and look in your eyes and have a shared experience, but we don't have to dig for words. Maybe we're
Mm,
sharing music that's brought us strength, or maybe it is guided imagery, or maybe it is the rhythms workshop or some sort of movement. So
yeah.
I'm intrigued and trying to figure out how to do that ever better during
Yeah.
these times.
Great, great. Well, it sounds like you have lots of exciting stuff going on. I can't remember if you mentioned this. I'll ask again if I did. If there's any cost or what to participate in that element of things.
Yeah, that's always a good question. Our, what I would say is there is a cost or expense for programs, but that doesn't necessarily go to the participant. Any of
Mm,
our peer support, the groups and workshops are offered regardless of ability to pay.
mm,
So a participant would see what the fee is and then just on an honor system, let us know what they're able to do. Like,
gotcha.
yes, I would like to pay for this, or I would like a discount, or I can't pay,
Right,
wherever, however that falls out.
right.
For our counseling, we do charge for counseling services, and we are able to bill third party
Oh,
insurance for
great.
those services as well.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you. So let's see. Well, let's zoom out from the logistics for a second and ask a broader question. I wonder if you could give us some thoughts on how programs like yours can be helpful to grieving kids or grieving families.
Jenny, it's different for everyone, but what we've learned when we've asked a lot of different lovely beings over the years is the value of Tamarack programs has been the opportunity to connect with understanding others, to know that other people get it, to validate that experience, to have a space to very specifically honor and remember, to say the days go by, weeks go by, years and years go by, and we don't forget. And we grieve differently. How do we keep integrating this into our lives through the years? And so having that space. Permission to have fun. Many people would say, we know how to grieve. We're doing it day in and day out. Help us re-access a range of experiences. So to give these kids permission, these adults permission to again experience moments of delight and have an appealing experience. Again, should that be what's appealing? We want to make sure that's a big part of the offering. And then just permission to be. There can be pressure and I think out of good intent, like we know how we might grieve. And so we expect other people to grieve the same way. And I think one thing that Tamarack can offer, or grief programs can offer, is permission to grieve in your own way. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to laugh, you can laugh. If you want to talk, please do. If you want to sit through this group and bear witness to other people's experience and not have to find your own words, may you feel completely welcome in your experience at this moment of time, whatever that might mean for you. So another place that makes it unique is the immersion in the great outdoors. That one of the things we've really prioritized is how do we partner with nature? How do we immerse healing programs in the out of doors? How do we gain strength and centeredness and groundedness just from the world around us? I'm looking out the window even as we speak, and the many metaphors that come as we walk our journey and walk on these paths, and watch these leaves fall from the trees, and the seasons change, and there's not a good one or a bad one. They're just different, and there's growth in all of them. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we had such an interesting discussion. We really dove deep on that in our prior long discussion, which I'll link on the page below here. And I think it's wonderful being in Montana and the outdoor opportunities you guys have there, and your expertise in that field of grief and outdoor programming. It's really terrific that you guys can bring that together there and offer that. So, if you can remind us, so you're in Montana, in Missoula, and remind us which other locations, and then tell us how we can find you if for people who live near you.
yeah, we're in Missoula, offices in Kalispell and Browning. People can call us at 406 541 8472, and or just jot us a line at info@tamarackgrc.org. That's all on our website, the www.tamarackgriefresourcecenter.org. And that calendar stays pretty updated on there, or track us down on Facebook or Instagram. We try to keep that updated with program activities as well. Give us a
All
call.
right.
We'll add you to this list and keep you posted on what's going on around here.
Awesome. Good. Well, I'll be
Thank
sure to
you.
link to your website. Yeah, thank you so much, Tina, for speaking with me today.
I love your time. I love all you do for our communities, helping bring us together during the
Oh,
toughest times. Thanks,
thank
Jenny.
you. Okay, bye.